So, some background. I, 23 female, had an older brother, Lance. He was 8 years older than me, and he absolutely despised me. Ever since the day I was born, he hated my guts and set out to make me as miserable as possible. Reason being was because he hated having a sibling, especially a sister, and was happy being an only child. Saying that he was a bully is a major understatement. Our parents initially ignored it, as they thought it was just normal sibling rivalry. But when I was 5, they finally locked onto his behavior and tried their very best to correct it. Nothing worked though. He only got worse and worse and meaner. One incident stands out in my mind. I was little. He locked me out of the house when there was a tornado warning. Out of all the things he's done to me, that was the worst, because there was actually a tornado on the ground, and it almost hit our neighborhood. When he graduated high school and moved out, the last thing he said to me before he left was that I was worthless and would amount to nothing. Thankfully, that was the end of his days bullying me. In the 13 years that have passed since Lance moved out, we've only seen each other on a couple of occasions, one of which being his wedding, and he ignored me on all of them, didn't even acknowledge my presence. He has 2 sons who I don't even know or were even introduced to. He told me that I would never amount to anything and was worthless. Well, I'm in nursing school, hoping to fulfill my dream of becoming a nurse, and I have a wonderful doting boyfriend. Well, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from my mom. Lance was coming home from work, and he lost control of his car and wrapped it around a streetlight. I only felt heartbroken for my parents, but I felt nothing towards him. I made it clear to my parents that I was not going to Lance's funeral, not after many years of mistreatment. They were not happy. They begged me to go, saying that I needed to be the bigger person. He's dead and can't hurt me anymore. I need to be there for them. I understood how they felt, but he never once apologized for all of his years of mistreatment. Not one word of remorse or regret. They tried insisting that he was a changed person, but I stood my ground and did not go. He did not deserve my grief or my presence. If he had apologized, then I might have attended, but he didn't. My parents were absolutely furious that I didn't show up and announced that they will never speak to me again, and they haven't since. My boyfriend stands by my decision, but I've been getting nothing but backlash from other family members, saying I should have just swallowed my pride and went to Lance's funeral. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He is gone now, and you never owed him anything. Not attending his funeral has changed your relationship with your parents. He was their son, but he wasn't your brother, and I hope that someday they can understand why you chose not to attend. This is the hill you chose to die on, so be prepared to not speak with your parents for some time. You are not the idiot here. What would your presence do for your parents, aside from give them a sense of control over you, or feed into their fantasy of the happy family they never had, due to their own failures? They didn't need you there for support, because they should have known you'd be unable to give it, given the horrible things Lance did. Demanding your presence was a way to try erasing Lance's wrongdoing and their complicity. Your parents enabled his behavior for many years, and they probably always thought that at some point, he'd apologize and they'd have the close family they probably always dreamed of. But it's too late now, and they're likely feeling the guilt of not working harder to get Lance to see the error of his ways. But that's their problem, not yours. You are the idiot here. Funerals are for the living, and your parents, who you did feel badly for, begged you to go. If you hadn't even gone to his wedding, and such I might have a different answer, but having been able to handle that scene where everyone was celebrating him, with him present, makes me think you could have handled this. Instead, you kind of validate to his spouse and kids why he didn't like you. Again, you didn't owe him anything, but your family needed you, and you weren't there for them. They are grieving and hurt. I don't think they are really cutting you off. Maybe reach out later and ask to go to family counseling together. I have 3 sons with my husband. My mom died when I was little, and I had to step up and raise my sister, who was 2 days old when our mom died, because our dad was a neglectful loser who only cared about one thing. So to say I have experience is an understatement. My husband's sister knows my past, but did not feel like I was doing a good job with the boys. She said I was too used to parenting a girl, and I had no idea how to parent a boy. She said this because my goal was to teach my boys to be kind, to be open and honest with their feelings, and to be good, respectful people. Some people might see it as I was trying to make them more feminine. But you know what? If my boys can be healthy and non-aggressive, then I will consider myself having done a good job. My husband's sister did not agree. She told me I was raising them to be soft, to be bullied, and I was setting them up for failure. At first, I ignored her. Then my husband talked to her, and I basically stopped caring about a relationship with her after she told me I was failing my kids because my oldest son wasn't afraid to have his friends hear him say I love you to me and his dad. She was so certain he would get crap for it. Why she only blames me is probably obvious, but I know she thinks her brother only goes along with what I do. Anyway, she has been struggling lately because her kids are not very well behaved. The rest of the family have been on her case about it, and she turned to me. No apology or acknowledgement of what she said, and told me she needed me to help her with her kids. I told her that I couldn't possibly help her with the kids when I'm failing mine so badly, and I would hate to fail hers as well. She pretty much lost it and told me I was being petty. We're family, and how could I not put the kids above any issues I have with her? I told her she had called me a bad parent, and I was not going to help her out when she had never apologized or acknowledged that she was wrong. To which she told me again I was petty and should be willing to help her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She's the one putting her pride before her kids. If she really wanted help, she'd apologize. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. Get the help from you without acknowledging her own past mistakes, and that's not how the world works. P.S. You sound like an excellent parent. You are not wrong here. You can't say someone is bad at raising kids, regardless of their actual outcome, then ask for their help. Even if they apologize afterwards, the absolute lunacy of this person. As delicious as this felt when they asked, I suspect you'll become even more well-fed when your kids end up in good jobs, good homes, with good families, due to them being well-adjusted, and her kids continue to be terrors. Sorry you even have to deal with this person, and it sucks her kids are ultimately going to suffer, but it's on her, not you. You are not the idiot. Sounds like she was feeling insecure about her own parenting and shortcomings and looking for ways to undermine yours and your choices. Obviously, sister-in-law is an entitled idiot who embraces toxic masculinity. I, male 28, lost my late fiancé in 2018. It was hard for me to process this sudden change in my life. It took me time to get in therapy. My sister helped me with it even though it was already late. I was advised to get into a group therapy, and I did. 6 months ago, I met a guy, Jason, who also lost his partner. We started talking outside of therapy. We'd meet at different places, and he started introducing me to a few of his friends who went through the same as me and him, and I was told I'm welcome in the group. The guys do a lot of activities together. I started taking part in their activities, attend events and do bonding activities. We'd gather every Thursday night, play video games or talk. Jason is the one who comes up with the plans and activities for the guys. I noticed all 4 guys have gotten the same tattoo. When I brought it up, they said the tattoo represents the group. I decided to wait after Jason suggested I get one as well. They've mentioned that none of them wanted to meet people and start over. The issue started when Jason saw me talking online with my new girlfriend. He asked about it and seemed upset, but I told him this was just a friend because I didn't want to tell him much, so he dropped it. On Valentine, the guys made plans to spend the night in and play games. I told them I wanted to go to my parents' house, and they said okay. I came back to my place at 8 p.m. I was surprised to see Jason there. He had a spare key, but I expected him to be with the guys. Jason looked upset. He said he was there to pick up his laptop and saw the gift my new girlfriend sent me in the morning. He asked why I didn't mention I have a girlfriend who's sending me gifts. He said I lied to the entire group and disrespected them. I was stunned when he said he threw the gift in the trash can because what I was doing was disrespectful of my late fiancé's memory. I lost it on him. I yelled at him, told him he had no right to try to dictate my life and get involved like that. We argued for a few minutes, and he said he hoped I'd be able to sleep at night for doing this to my late fiancé, then left. He had the guys calling and texting hurtful things, calling me a liar and a manipulator, went on about the commitment to not disrespect our partner's memories and that I needed to make things right or they won't be welcoming me into the group again. Thing is, Jason supported me a lot. I remember when he was the only one who had time to hear about my issues, even outside of therapy. He went through a lot and lost his wife and brother the same year. From what I understand, he's a sympathetic person, and so I trusted him in the guys as well. But I find what he did unacceptable, and the way he keeps stumping over boundaries got me stressed out. You are not the idiot. He went to your place when he knew you weren't going to be there and snooped through your stuff and destroyed your property? And he also actively wants to prevent you from healing from the loss of your partner and finding happiness again. Maybe you shouldn't have lied, but I'm guessing you did so because you had an inkling of how he'd take your dating. That guy needs more therapy. Sorry about your old friend group. I bet now you can find a healthier one. You are not the idiot here, but are you sure you didn't accidentally join a cult? Came here to say exactly this. Matching tattoos? Dude has a key to your house? The cult vibes are strong with this one. You are not the idiot. This whole thing sounds amazingly unhealthy at this point. It may have been helpful when the wound of your fiance's passing was fresh. Right now, he's invading your privacy, impeding your recovery, and destroying your property. You are not the idiot for kicking him out, and I'd also be rekeying this lock. Even if he gives the key back, you never know if he made a copy. The background. I, 31 male, live in an apartment on my parents' property. I pay market rent before anybody accuses me of being a deadbeat. I have one sister, Tressa, 19, from my mom's second marriage. Tressa doesn't always make the best decisions. For example, she got pregnant with my nephew Jerry when she was still in high school. She has really bad impulse control, and she thinks she can do no wrong, which means she doesn't take advice well. I've always been into body modification. I have about 15 tattoos and gauges. My job pays pretty well. I'm a lineman for a power company, so I can afford it. Tressa has one tattoo, but she wants more. Anyway, she got her stimulus money recently, and she also has a few thousand from a legal settlement last year. She told me she wants to get an extraocular implant. For those who don't know, it's a small piece of metal that's implanted in your eye, and it comes in decorative shapes like hearts and stars. I told her she probably couldn't find an artist to do it. She only has one tat, and in my experience, artists won't do extreme body modifications unless you're really tattooed already. Plus, it's very expensive and comes with some risk. Tressa didn't like that. She told me she already found a guy, and I'd be watching Jerry while she got it and recovered. I told her no. She said she just always wanted to feel wild and attractive, like other girls her age, and she felt like she was always being pushed into the mom mold. I told her she is a mom, in fact, and she should just spend the money on her son. He's totally obsessed with skating and hockey, and I suggested using the money for skating lessons. She's been holed up at her boyfriend's house since, and she isn't talking to me. I wasn't trying to say she's a bad mom, only educating her. Extraocular implants are a big decision, and they can really impact her future. Right now, she's working at a restaurant, but if she changes fields, it'll be harder to find a job. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for advising, but it is ultimately her bad choice. I looked up these extraocular implants and holy crap, why do people do this to themselves? I don't know why she needs to put a piece of metal in her eye to go wild. She could just go out all night once in a while. LP, you are not the idiot, but I also think you aren't taking the best approach with your sister. She wants to do something potentially damaging and permanent to her eyes that can impact her life long term. Her reason is she wants to feel attractive and normal and not just like a mom. Your response was, you are a mom, spend the money on your kid. This is going to push her to do it, since it's setting up her options as wild, attractive, cool-eyed woman and boring mom who can't do anything for herself. You are not the idiot. She is a mom. Once you have kids, it's not all about you anymore. Sure, it's a highly risky procedure, but it's also selfish and short-sighted. Mostly, you are not wrong here. This sounds like a risky and expensive procedure, and it's totally reasonable to point out the risk involved. But not sure I agree with this. Being a mom doesn't mean you should stop doing anything to enjoy your life, or that every penny you have should go to your kids. While an expensive cosmetic surgery probably isn't a good use of your sister's money, she can still spend some money on herself without being a bad mom. I, 27 female, own a 75% share of a house with my ex, 28 male, who owns a 25% share. The difference is due to my own savings and inheritance money that I put into the house when we bought it a few years ago. Now we are splitting up, mostly because he and I want different things, and he is unwilling to compromise to meet my needs. The house is great, and in the city we grew up in. He loves the place and would like to stay as it has emotional value to him. But due to his lower income, he isn't able to buy me out at market value. He asked I sell him my share below value, which would cost me around $40,000, so he can stay. His reasons are because I don't love the city and the house and will be able to get something equivalent. I have ambitions to move abroad, so it's more pragmatic to buy him out than because I actually want the house. I also have more savings and a much higher income, so indeed it will be easier to get a similar place on my own. While that is impossible for him, while indeed it wouldn't impact me as much to lose the money, I just don't think it's fair, as he's been having a much lower living cost due to our lower mortgage, due to the money I put in. And I agreed to give him a share in the first place when I was planning to buy it alone, so he profits due to the increased market value if I buy him out. He thinks I'm an idiot for not agreeing immediately to his plan, and all our friends and family are on his side and calling me a cold, heartless witch for kicking him out after breaking up with him. So, would it be wrong to not agree to this plan? Am I the idiot if I value $40,000 more than our 9-year relationship? Not the idiot. Absolutely do not agree to his demand. It is not your responsibility to take a $40,000 loss just because what? That's what's most convenient for him? You've already put so much more into this house than he has. If there's a way to go forward with minimal or no contact with him, for example, having a lawyer handle all future communications, that would be best. Do not interact with any of the friends or family he directed to attack you. Block them if possible. Them calling you a witch is crossing the line. If your friends and relatives want him to have that $40,000, then they can all get together and give it to him. You are not the idiot here. OP's question about valuing $40,000 over a 9-year relationship really goes to show how much others have pushed that idea in her head. The one and only reason that their ex has any ownership stake in the house is because OP was generous enough to allow them to buy a share when they wanted to purchase it alone to begin with. They were already taken advantage of once by their ex right here. The ex cannot afford that house, plain and simple. They couldn't afford it when it was purchased. They cannot afford it now. The house should be sold to a third party at market value, and ex can take their own share and buy a more appropriate home for themselves. If everyone thinks they still deserve the house, they can give him or lend him the money to buy it at a reasonable rate from OP. So let me see if I've got this right. You're breaking up because you both want different things, and he is unwilling to compromise to meet your needs. However, you are expected to compromise and help finance the very future that he refuses to share with you by agreeing to sell him your share at a reduced price? And the fact that you haven't immediately jumped at his grand opportunity has turned your friends and family against you? What on earth? I mean, seriously, what the ever-loving earth? You're not his partner anymore, and you don't owe him anything. Certainly not the continuation of the lifestyle he enjoyed while you two were together at your personal expense. Frankly, I think most people would value $40,000 more than a 9-year relationship after the relationship was over, especially if it ended badly. Definitely, you are not the idiot.